Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, December the 2nd, 2021. It's another Technical Alpha podcast. I'm glad you could join us today. I hope you're all well and healthy and well on your way to being done whatever Christmas shopping you've got to do. Because if you're like me, December 1st hit yesterday and you said, oh my God, it's December 1st. I haven't done a lick of Christmas shopping up to this point. So don't be me. Be smarter than that. Got another great show lined up for you today. If this is your first time here, appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy yourselves. Talk about video game stuff, movies, TV, and then give our random opinions about all sorts of crap that you may or may not care about. Let's find out if you do. But before we start, of course, got to ask the most important question of the week. Mr. Black, how was your week?
It's been another week. Been dealing with some stomach issues for the better half of 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, maybe longer. My shit's all fucked up. So yeah, been dealing with that. Hopefully we'll have, I got so I went to the doctors there a couple days ago and they gave me some meds. He thinks it's like, could be bad, like acid reflux, and because I've always kind of struggled with it, but like this is the worst it's ever been by a long mile. So yeah, it gave me some meds, started those a couple days ago. Hopefully things will clear up. Going to go get some blood work done in a couple weeks, just in case, it's something else. It's not like severe pain or anything like that, but it's just bubbling and fucking just, it's there.
It's not happy.
It's not fucking happy, bro. It's not fucking happy at all. So yeah, I've been dealing with that. I've been making me pretty uncomfortable. Have no appetite pretty much ever for like the last 2 weeks. Like the feeling of hunger, I actually forget what it feels like to be hungry. But I'm still eating. So like, I don't throw up or anything. Like once I start eating, I'm like, okay, I should probably eat. I'm like, oh, okay, my body needs this. But like, I feel bloated and shit. It's brutal. So anyway, enough of that. But that's been on my mind and a struggle for the last while. So I've been really just dealing with that, streaming, chilling. Hot tub comes next week. So that's happening. I had to dig a trench outside, run some wire. I just got to take down part of my deck so I can get the hot tub up there. And yeah, so I'll be enjoying that next week. And what else is going on in my life? That's pretty much it. No crazy big purchases or anything like that. We're getting ready for winter. So I had to get the cars in to like, get the winter tires on, oil changes and all that shit. So that has been it. Yeah, that's the show.
Amazing. My week was just, it's also been just another week. We just played a bunch more Halo. That's been the consistent thing for me. As I continue to play Halo, there's not much else on my docket to play until the campaign pops in another 6 days. No games are popping up between now and then that I had on dock. The only really major release is the Final Fantasy XIV expansion, but I'm not into Final Fantasy XIV, so I'm just on the waiting list for the campaign for Halo Infinite. And so in the meanwhile, I continue to play some multiplayer, and finished my Forza Horizon 5 review. That got put up here the other day as well. And so that's out of the way. Big surprise. I scored it well. It's a good video game. It's a pro tip. Other than that, I've been watching some of the HCS in my downtime, the Halo Championship series. That's been quite fun to watch. And while it's obviously not perfect in terms of its viewing experience, it's pretty good. I mean, man, like if the Halo Infinite is like, if it was an astrological sign, I guess it would be like Libra, insofar as it's like the great scales of everything, but like not necessarily the scales of judgment, but just the great scales of everything. For every good part to Halo Infinite, there's an equal and opposite fucking Y. And thankfully, the good parts are almost exclusively gameplay specific, with the exception of custom games, which are universally and hideously broken, so just don't even bother trying to fuck with that right now. But as far as like the core goes, like they've got that. And I guess arguably you could say that's the most difficult part for a game to nail. So I guess if they were going to nail something, that's the one that you want them to actually do well in. But pretty much everything else is a clusterfuck. So hopefully now that they're back off of their break for whatever, like 1 week before Christmas break, that they're able to start to string together some fixes and whatnot. And you know what I thought about? What I thought about most this week, playing Halo, is that while as caught up as I am in how good the game plays on average and how fun it's been to watch the esports scene and stuff doing really well, I can't get it out of my mind the narrative that's been going around online about people talking about how it's the way it is because it's free to play, or, you know, they had, you know, it's really hard to make games these days, etc., so that's why it's being staggered, you know, in this multiplayer first, and then campaign, but only solo. You can't co-op yet until like 6 months from now, and then like 3 months after that, another 9 months down the road, you're gonna get Forge, so you're gonna have almost a full year before any, like, player content is created, and like all this, like, this staggered release shit, and all I couldn't get out of my mind was, I still remember what it was like to play Halo 3. And when you spent your $60 on Halo 3, and you put it in your Xbox 360, on day one, it had fucking everything, including the original, and probably therefore more challenging to get right on day one, Forge mode. They didn't have a blueprint to Forge mode at that point. That was their first swing at the fucking ball. Everything was there. And out of Halo 3's day one content was just like, everything was incredible. There was very little wrong with Halo 3, and you just got it all on day one. And then, even when Bungie was on like a shoestring and a dream for Halo Reach, before, you know, they eventually left Microsoft and went on to do Destiny. Same thing, but with even more customization options and even better progression systems. You might not have liked the gameplay of Reach because you might have thought it didn't play like classic Halo, but like on day one, and then here we are, Halo Infinite, 6 years, and like $500 million later. And we've got like 6 maps. And you can't even pick just Slayer. You have to play the mixed bag and ranked. And you can't play a 4 squad of keyboard mouse only. You either play solo duo, or you play crossplay. And you've got this very limited set. And they're saying that Forge is 9 months away. And I'm just thinking, fuck me. Like, this game was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah, it wasn't ready, man. It was a mess.
It's still, bro, I gotta be honest, it's still not ready. The core is ready. And that's what everyone is so latched onto. But I think, and we said this before, the craziest part about all this is that modern gaming is so shit on average that everyone has gotten remarkably excited about the fact that just the gameplay worked.
Yeah.
Full stop. People got excited about it working. That's where we're at right now in 2021 for gaming. People's expectations are so fucking low that their response to Halo coming out with like 5 maps, 2 modes, and a dream, and it just so happens that the gameplay worked, and everyone's like, ah! Holy shit, this is incredible! Because you see, Battlefield 2042 is like, literally looks like they just laid down on a grenade, and fucking Vanguard looks like they laid down on a nuclear bomb. And then so you get Halo with like, that's just coming in and they get a gold star for like effort. It's just so bizarre to me. So anyway, that was I only want to talk about it so much just because that's all I played this week, but all the same, I will say I did enjoy and continue to enjoy watching the Halo Championship Series, because you're getting a lot of guys that played Halo for like 10 years come back and play this, so you're not watching people figure the game out all that much. You're watching people pretty much immediately fucking own everyone,
yep.
And some really good players, and so that's been fun to watch. But other than that, that's been it. Did my review, played some Halo, and now here we are, and it's time to talk about some video game news. You ready, Mr. Black?
I'm ready.
Not a lot this week, actually. It looks like a lot on our list because I wrote in full sentences, but in reality, there's not a lot that actually happened this week. Zero that I could see, really, in the Activision Blizzard. So sorry, no Bobby Kotick news this week. You're going to have to go and get your fix somewhere else. But first up here, we got just as folks started discovering, like just as soon almost as folks discovered that the GTA Remastered Trilogy was so bad that they had actually left behind code from the mobile ports in this bitch. Which people then thought, what did they do? Take every version of these games and just stick them into a blender and press blend and then fucking launch that bitch with some AI like graphical upscaling, because that's what it looks like. But thankfully, at the same time that people are just figuring that out and everyone's being doom and gloom about it, including myself, Rockstar started pushing out updates that have at least been positively received thus far. So it looks like Rockstar, and I'm going to give Rockstar the benefit of the doubt here that they will fix it, because I think Rockstar actually cares about their public image, unlike some companies, they'll just let that shit die.
Yeah, they have a reputation.
And they want to keep that reputation.
Yeah.
They don't want to see that go away. So, but I did have a giggle. If you go and look at some of the first patch notes for this, like 10 or 12 of the bullet points were related just to rain. Because of how fucking terrible the rain made the game unplayable. You couldn't see shit, it looked awful, it was just brutal. And so like the first 12 bullet points in this friggin' we fixed some shit was rain. Just made me laugh. I thought it was quite funny. But to their credit, they're actually getting some work done. What I don't know, and what I'd almost be interested to know, is are the people doing all the patching the people that made the game in the first place, or did Rockstar go, all right, give me this shit. Give me this shit, I'm gonna put 15, 20 people on it, and just let them do it. Fuck you guys, you didn't just drop the ball, you dropped it and kicked it into our own net.
Yeah, but so I mean, Rockstar still approved this shit, right? So you can't just pass the buck completely. Like,
they
allowed this game to get released, right?
100%,
so if I was them, I'd be like,
it.
you motherfuckers are fixing this shit or you ain't getting paid. You know? And you better do it right, so...
That's true. That is very true. So yeah, there you go. We got the first round of fixes. That's pretty quick, and hopefully those fixes continue to be that quick and roll out to fix that stuff. Ludwig adds his name to the major Twitch streamers making the switch to Team Red this week, Mr. Black. I'm sure you saw that on your socials pop up a few times. Also adding his name to needlessly cheesy and kind of overly sarcastic video promos of him leaving Twitch to go to YouTube. It's like everyone's trying to one-up each other with how stupid of a fucking promo they can put together for this. But all the same, he did that, switched over, and then put out immediately, of course, his Why Did I Do This Thing video. And honestly, I mean, everything aside from what he said in the video, I don't know if you saw the video they posted. So I mean, I just had the I have the core of what he said about it, because he really dragged that bitch on.
I mean, everybody knows, right? Like,
yeah, it's
I don't even
Ludwig's content was made for YouTube more than it was ever made for Twitch to begin with. So I'm not shocked, even from like a content creator's perspective, that would be one of the reasons that he might consider moving, because he wasn't really a gamer. Like, Ludwig wasn't on Twitch doing gaming content, really. So that's not surprising. But he did cite the usual, some of the usual stuff. So it was a combination for him. What it really boiled down to was, and there was a couple of other smaller notes, but these are obviously the flagship ones outside of the money, because Twitch and YouTube were very clearly offering Ludwig large sums of money. This is not about the money at this point.
Millions.
There are other factors involved, and the factors being the same ones we talked about before. Like, coincidentally, hey, you don't have to stream as many hours, which I'm sure he said, wow, that sounds pretty dope. But not just because he didn't have to stream as many hours and work less, but because Ludwig, like I was just mentioning, does seem to do, or will like to do, a lot of like more VOD-specific type content. That less streaming hour requirement would allow him to also do more bespoke VOD YouTube type content on the side. And he spoke about how he's excited to actually be able to do that. And one of the first things he said he was going to try and work on is spinning some of the vast sums of money in which he made from this bag into making the biggest Ultimate Smash Melee tournament ever. And he wants to put about $1 million into this bitch. So things like that he said he would like to have done before, but in order to pay for it because he didn't have the bag, he was saying that he was actually considering doing another one of his subathons, which he most famously did. I think it was last year, where he became for a time, I think, the most subscribed person on the website. It was like this big thing. He did a marathon that was like absolutely fucking insane. And to accomplish that, and he was like thinking about how he could do that again, and then this opportunity came up, and obviously, fuck a marathon if you can just take the bag.
Yes.
So he did. So he did. And then the other thing that he mentioned, and he kind of went over what it was like talking to the agents that were representing Twitch and the agents that were representing YouTube in terms of how they conducted themselves during this back and forth on both sides. And he said what kind of threw him for a loop was that despite the fact that he's been so successful and obviously made Twitch a fair chunk of money, and if you're going to look at individual streamers, he's on the short list of made Twitch some dollars. That it was surprising to him two things. He mentioned one, when that happened originally, so outside of this agreement going down, Twitch never like sent him like a hey, congratulations, or good, that's fucking incredible, or thank you for doing whatever, because he literally just blew up on Twitch for like this huge chunk of time and made everyone just fucking buckets of money, and got nothing like that. And then when the negotiations came up and they were going the back and forth, he said that literally it wasn't even, Twitch didn't even really fight particularly hard to keep him. They just said good luck. And that was the show. So he said that was part of it. YouTube was like, and he understands, obviously, like anyone in Ludwig's position, you have to be a relatively decently sharp mind in terms of content creator to know that YouTube and Twitch both have a vested interest in you from a monetary perspective. They don't necessarily care about you as an individual. But with that being said, that doesn't change the fact that when you're in negotiations, you should still be hearing positive stuff related to what you've done or what you could be doing from those two sides to sway you. If Twitch is just going to show up and say, here's our money, take it or leave it, and YouTube says, here's the money, here's less hours, we'd like you to do this other stuff because we think your content is fantastic, I mean, obviously the play to your ego is going to sway you, even if you know that they're playing to your ego, to go to the other side. And so, he mentioned that as well, though I
think Twitch it's a lose-lose for Twitch, right? So like, if they look desperate, they're going to get, reamed for more money. And then also, this isn't a good thing for Twitch. I mean, he was already on the platform. They weren't, to our knowledge, paying him a salary. So he was just doing it to do it, like 99.9% of streamers on Twitch. And so suddenly they're going to have to fork up millions of dollars. And they know, like YouTube and Facebook, they're going to hold guys like this at a higher value than what Twitch will. Because guys like this moving over helps build and cement an entire platform. Twitch already has all of that. So I wouldn't suspect Twitch to be overly excited to say, hey, we love you so much and we're going to do anything and everything to keep you there. It's like, listen, man, if they loved him that much and they were that interested about all this, they should have went to him beforehand, right? They should have just said, hey, that massive thing that you just did, we want you to represent our brand. Here's the deal. Doesn't seem like they're willing to play ball. I mean, from what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like they're willing to really play ball that much. And not only that, they probably know deep down that he's going. Like, he's leaving. Like, I don't see how Twitch ever beats YouTube or Facebook to keep a talent that wants to go. Because it's clear he wants to go, right? Like, if you don't want to go from Twitch, you're not doing this. Like, you're just,
if they match the dollars and the hours required, I'm interested as to how many people still make the switch. Because those seem to be the two, biggest deciding factors.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to do that because, if they do that, then they're getting fucked, right? Because they're putting the value of the talent at the same value that YouTube and say Facebook would put the talent. But the talent isn't that needed on Twitch, right? When he's off Twitch, it literally is doing nothing to Twitch. They don't give they'll lose some money for sure. The biggest thing is the competition is getting bigger, and the competition is growing. And as these creators keep going, their friends and other content creators that they hang out with and go in their their fancy Vegas trips and their fancy California, Beverly Hills fucking shit, and they're all sitting there, drinking their own, fucking vodka, and they're talking about the $30 million deal that they made. It's going to start seeping into other talent. And if Twitch starts bending over, I'm just looking at it from the outside. If they start bending over and saying, just tell me what you want. Oh, you only want to stream 40 hours a week? Okay. Oh, you only want to stream 30 hours a week? Okay. Yeah, here's $30 million as well. Just don't leave us. Don't go over there. Stay here. We love you here. We're just going to give you everything, even though we weren't paying you before. Suddenly, every fucking person that he knows, he's going to go to all of them and be like, listen, man, Twitch is bending over for all of us. Go there, tell them you want to go to another platform, and they're going to write you a check. The moment they start doing that shit, man, it's over for them. Like, they're gonna lose a shit ton of people. They're going to lose a fuck ton. So they kind of have to remain like, dude, you're leaving the fucking home team. And they have to pray that a YouTube or Facebook run out of money, or they fuck up and people just come back home. Because if they pay these guys to stay, what happens in 2 years after the contract's done? They got to pay it again. They got to pay another 20, 30 million. So why? It's just like, listen, you know what you're worth, great. You want to go over Facebook, you want to go over YouTube. They're offering you, say, 30 million bucks. You're coming to us. Listen, this is what we're willing to do. You're already the king shit here. You are literally the number one subbed individual. You're already making millions of dollars, and we're going to continue to push you and help you and brand deals and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have to just find the value in being on the winning team. But if you want to go over there, we're not going to, we have to say, have fun and buy, because they have to bank on the fact that it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out over there, then it doesn't matter who left Twitch. When they come back, they're coming back on their own. Twitch doesn't have a $30 million check for them. It's like, hey, you didn't want to deal. You didn't want to take my, they offer you 30 million. We offered you 15. You didn't want to take the 15 million. Well, when you come back, we don't have 15 for you. We have nothing for you. You're going to be like every other partner. You're going to be successful, but you're going to be like every other partner. So I actually think that it's a good play by Twitch, and they can afford to do those things. They have to just pray to fuck that YouTube and Facebook do not fucking blow up like crazy. There are tons of people that are moving, and it's just like every month there is a new streamer leaving. And you do that for 3-4 years, and it's gonna start to be a problem for Twitch. Then and only then will they start writing those big checks. And then and only then will they say, you only have to stream 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week. Because right now, in my opinion, I don't think they're in a position to have to. So,
I agree. I agree with pretty much everything there. I guess the only thing that I would think of from Twitch's perspective, other than, I have to imagine from a business strategy perspective that the only option can't possibly just be, let's pray to God our opposition drops the ball across the next 4 years so that they come back.
I don't think they have a choice. I don't think they have a choice. Like, I'd be damned if Twitch isn't like that profitable. If they're profitable, they're barely profitable. If think about this, Adam. If you've got 10 big streamers and you're guaranteeing 10 of these streamers on average $20 million a year, or say 10 million a year.
Oh no, it's a huge amount of money.
Fuck ton of money, man.
Yeah.
And let's keep it 100, bro. Lug or anybody that leaves, Ninja. Say Ninja goes, even though he's Twitch. If they're paying Ninja $30 million a year or 20 million, he is not making Twitch $20 million a year in profit. He's not. So they're keeping these guys and gals, mostly dudes. I haven't heard any. So I guess I'll say these guys. They're keeping these guys if it makes sense. If it's not making sense, Why are they taking these huge losses? Because they know what's going to happen at them. If they sign this dude for 20 million bucks a year, and he's not making 20 million for Twitch at all. None of them are. Very few. There might be very few. But say they're losing 5-10 million a year on the deal. They know in 2 years when this contract's up, guess who's going to want another 20 million? And if they grew throughout that 20 years and Twitch got to push them, they're paying 20 million, so they got to make them a bigger star. They're going to ask for more money. And then it's going to go from 20 million to 30 million. You go, okay, now we're losing 15, 20 million per streamer. And you get 10 of those, you're fucked. So they have no choice.
So here's a question. So obviously the same would hold true for YouTube or Facebook, where the talent that they're signing is not making them the return on investment.
Nope.
Their valuation is entirely based on them trying to get other viewers to the platform via the people that they're bringing, right?
Correct. Because think about it. Before you go, think about this. Those big streamers, when they come over, how much money would it cost to have 10,000 unique individuals watching your streaming platform for hours on end every single day? That's going to be worth.
There's two different metrics, right? So there's the metric of getting them there, and there's actual conversion metrics on them staying, right? So what I have to assume, at least to some degree, because it's been a couple of years since they started making their first major signings, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to assume now that they have some pretty decent numbers on both of those metrics, right? Both how many people are coming over at first and how many people are truly being converted to Team Red long term, and not just watching the people that they signed, but also watching enough or other content or other live streamers in the long term, so that money is worth it. Because otherwise, I don't think anyone would be able to justify a $20 million, $30 million spend on a single content creator for a 2-year fucking contract.
Let's also this, man. Twitch is small fucking peanuts compared to Facebook and YouTube.
I understand, but not even Facebook and YouTube will burn like $1 billion just for the sake of burning $1 billion over 4 years. Like if they're signing multiple, like for the same reasons you were mentioning, if you have 10 or 20 major signings and they're making somewhere between 10 and $20 million a piece on average, then you're looking at anywhere from half a bill to a bill pretty quick. And in, even in Google terms, I don't think that they looked at that number on paper and go, oh, yeah, that's fine. I think they still have to justify to some degree that expense.
I think the upside is bigger on Facebook and YouTube on their end, because Twitch is already established and they're not paying already. So they're just out of pocket, at least with Facebook and YouTube, especially YouTube. They know that, like, hey, these people are becoming bigger. The YouTube algorithm, the Facebook algorithm is going to work in their favor, and they're going to push these individuals, and they're just going to bring in more dollars. The YouTube, they're going to create more videos, they're going to blow up, and in turn, I think they're going to get a better return on investment. Plus, they're starting to get into the industry, which costs a fuck ton of money. Let's not, they haven't been in the streaming business for 10 years. They've been in the streaming business for a few years. So they're skipping the line. I mean, Twitch has been able to do this for a decade. Yeah. These guys are cutting corners. Yeah. And they're piggybacking off of all the hard work that Twitch and the streamers have done. And now they're just poaching them. It's costing them money, man, but their return on investment is way bigger than Twitch. Way bigger.
It certainly would be in the short term. And what I would love to know, because we already know on average how much a YouTube personality of certain sizes, being that we've been in the game and we know people and we know the numbers running through, loosely how much a creator of a certain size makes in advertising revenue in the run of a year. And that's the only money, other than the splits and stuff from the streaming side of things, that YouTube is going to see from these creators. They have various ways to monetize them. So I would love to see how long it takes, for example, $20 million to get a kickback, like what the net zero time is on a Ludwig contract, because I doubt Ludwig is streaming and doing content creation 5 years from now. I highly fucking doubt it. I think this dude retires in 3.
I don't know. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think all these dudes are doing it long term, and I think also a lot of it has to do with your identity and status and what you represent. I don't think it's about, you know, I'm only saying this from my point of view, but you know, come on, these guys are all multimillionaires.
Yeah.
You money to them now is just like, it's almost like a game. It's like, how much of this can I make? You give a guy like this $3-4 million bucks. It's not changing his life. He makes that in, you know, 6 months. I think what it is what you represent. It's a big community. It's a culture. It's a lifestyle. And I think that most of these content creators are going to do this for until they retire, until they're just done with it. And even most of them that retire, a lot of the times they just come back. They go on a hiatus, they get whatever they're looking for, and then they come back because it calls to them. It's part of their DNA.
So here's a question then, one last question, I guess, in regards to, or like a hypothetical, in regards to the whole concept of, you know, Twitch can't realize that 20 million. We know that to some degree YouTube and Facebook aren't realizing that 20 million, at least not in the short term, and that it's unlikely that they're going to re-sign people for another $20 million at the end of this contract in perpetuity. So there has to be an end game for these contract signings, right? You're not going to sign Ludwig. Like, let's say Ludwig doesn't retire in a few years and he goes for another 10. So at the end of every contract term, let's say the contract was 2 years each time, you've got 5 more contract re-signings, theoretically, if they are going to continue to sign him on. And if it was to play out a similar way as we were, you know, supposing it would if they were to stay at Twitch and ask for the contract, where if they did well and they grew and everyone's making money, that they're going to request as much or more in the new contract signing, because just like in the sports world, that's how it happens every time. Nobody goes back and asks for less money until their performance drops off, starts to drop off, and then you go, okay, well, if I can't feasibly ask for this much money anymore, I have to, put my expectations in check. So let's say that doesn't happen. What the question that pops into my mind then becomes, will there ever be long-term signings, or will it always just be a short-term bouncing between whatever platforms come out surviving this initial push, your Facebooks, your YouTube, your Twitch, in this live stream space, before it just goes back to it's just creators making money on the platform of their choice, and they choose the platform to make the most money on naturally? Because ultimately, we're, I guess, assuming that they're not going to want to just pay people in perpetuity on every contract re-signing, because they can't feasibly make that much money back on the content creators out of their natural business as it stands.
It depends. I mean, it depends, right? I would imagine it fully depends on performance. So,
because my last thing before you go is that, because what that brings into my mind is, what is the true value of these content creators? Because what we know right now is their true value isn't even necessarily what they're getting paid to go to YouTube. It's a gamble for YouTube. A large portion of that valuation is a gamble. They're assuming that there is going to be a kickback return on that value that they've given them. They don't know they're going to make $20 million back on and more. I'm hoping I think they want to make money off of it, so more than 20 million, if that was the number.
Yeah.
In the long term. So that, I guess the question that raises in my mind is, what is the true value when somebody is going to a table or whatnot in contract signings, if that's not the case?
Well, I think it all depends on where the streaming platforms are. So it depends on where they're at in 2 years or in 4 years. Because right now, the value is also is higher than what it would be on Twitch, because Twitch is already established. So these guys are spending the money to build the platform. So in 2 years, depending on how they perform and the position that the platforms are in, they may be able to give more, they may be able to give the same, or they might have to give less. But they're in a position to do that one way or another, because say if they're getting 20 million a year and then YouTube goes, okay, listen, we went through the analytics here, we're losing money, but that's fine. We knew we were going to lose money. We want to keep you. We obviously can't pay the same because now we have a lot more creators that we're paying. We're losing money on a lot of them, but we want you to stay. We really, really like your content. So instead of 15 million, we're going to offer you, or 20 million, we're going to offer you 15 million. And, then they have the option to go to Twitch and say, hey, listen, these guys are now offering me 15 million. Can you do better? Yay or nay? It's probably be a nay. Or maybe it's a yay. And then if it's a yay and Twitch starts buying back some, then YouTube and Facebook have to go, okay, listen, do we want to continue to burn at this rate to keep these guys on here? And where is our platform going? I have no idea what it's like on the back end for these guys. I don't know how much money they're making. I would assume they're losing money, but that's okay. They're gaining in the grand thing. So hopefully it gets to a point where, everybody's making money. Some of those contracts may come down. Some of them may go up. I think it's just going to be fully dependent on that. And let's keep it real, man. For YouTube to burn $1 billion a year is nothing. It's a literal drop in the absolute bucket. To lose $1 billion a year for Twitch is like, what the fuck? We bought the
obviously
damn thing for
comparatively speaking, yeah.
So they're able to burn for a long time, to the point where they might be able to just wait out, buy, and next thing you know it starts to turn a profit. Most businesses lose money for several years, or startups, before they turn a profit. And I just think that's their play. We'll see what happens. All I know is this: all the streamers, keep making your money, know your value, get as much as you want, because right now, more than ever, because of the streaming wars that are happening with the platforms, the streamer has the most leverage I think you'll ever have in the history of gaming. You've
got a few years of it, and that's it.
Yep. Right now, it is time to milk it for all you can and set a precedent and get what you're worth and more. I mean, get more than what you're worth, because eventually it's going to come down to what you're actually worth. Because right now we're playing with Monopoly money. They're just fucking throwing it around. Eventually, reality is going to sink in, and some of them are worth this much. But milk it, baby. Milk it.
How many? I'll ask this because streaming is ultimately still a numbers game at the end of the day, and whether you're paying to keep people short term to try and keep the rest of the numbers that they bring afloat or not. How many creators of this size, of Ludwig's size, can Twitch lose before internally they go, okay, guys, we need to at least keep somebody?
Well, they have been keeping a couple. So, they kept, what's his face? The FPS guy, Nick Merckx. They kept him. And I know that YouTube must have offered him a fucking bag, because a lot of Nick Merckx boys and shit, they're all on YouTube, man. So they must have dug deep for that guy. There might be certain talent that they're like, let's not lose that. Let's not lose that. I think they could still probably burn through like another 5 or 6 big top dogs before they go, okay, we can't lose. We can't, unless we're creating new big dogs, we can't. We just can't continue.
Which we know they're trying to do, right? Because we see their ambassador program where they're hitting people with social media in reach of like between 3,000 and 10,000 people a pop, and so we know that they're doing some work in trying to curate various streamers to I would imagine hopefully pick up some of the slack that they lose when they do lose somebody of magnitude, obviously, as well, without having to pay the enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to see.
I think, and I'll say this because we've been going on for this for fucking ever.
Yeah, that's fine. It's short news.
Yeah, it's the last thing. I think if I was in Twitch's position right now, I would get ahead of the game. The people that they really cannot live without, they need to lock them down.
Like now?
And then on top of that, they need to start dumping a fuck ton of money into their platform and make it so desirable that you are a fucking moron if you leave outside of money. Like, they need to make it so that the user experience, the partner experience, that you are treated like a fucking rock star when you are on this platform and you worry about nothing, to the point where the other platforms look lazy and sloppy, and that the only reason why you would ever leave, ever, is money. And it's so good that even the viewer knows that you're a sellout and that all you want is money, because everything here is fucking mint. The music playing, no DMCA shit, the fucking the user face, your pay of rate, your revenue splits. I mean, everything. They need to just dump a fuck ton of money, know what the streamer wants, and deliver and over deliver to the point where it's like, damn, dude, guys, you know what, man, that $20 million paycheck is looking real good over there on YouTube. But you know what? I make 12 million already on Twitch, and it's just God tier over here. That $8 million bucks, man, let's be real, guys. It's not changing my life. My community loves it here. I gotta stay. I just gotta stay. Unless YouTube is just writing a check that is like gonna take care of my kids. I think that's what they need to do.
I agree. And you know what? Of all of the avenues that they could take to try and maintain their long-term viability and success, this is the one that, two things. One, they should already be light years ahead of everyone else anyway, because they've been in this business for over 10 years. They should already not, like, YouTube should not have closed the gap like they have in the last couple of years. Twitch should be able to iterate and be so far fucking ahead of everyone else. They've been the only actor, the only true actor for a decade. They literally nearly spawned this entire industry, and they're getting caught up on because they got lazy. Let's be honest. They fucking got lazy, and now
we'll see.
They got to fight for it a little bit harder. But yeah, there you go. So another one over to Team Red. We'll see how many. We're at the time of year where people are going to start to re-sign, so we'll have more information, I'm sure, about who might be staying.
January 1st,
and who's
we're
going to
hear more, man.
Yeah, we're
going to hear more.
That's like the deadline for a lot of people. So can't wait to see what shakes out of that. Remember when those retro games started selling at thousands of times more than they were only a year previous, Mr. Black? Remember we talked about, actually on a podcast, we were like, hey, we got excited when that Mario game, that Mario Kart, not the game Mario Kart, but the Mario cartridge sold for 30 grand. And then like a year later, it was 130 grand. And then barely even a year after that, we had like 1.2 something million. It's all the same game with like the same rating. It's like everything just got ballooned in this totally short period of time. So there's been a few people that have been looking into this and investigating, this whole thing, trying to get some answers as to how the fuck. For example, in a stretch of 10 days, a cart goes and 7,000% itself in just under 2 weeks. And as it turns out, I can't give you the big rundown here, but I can recommend the video. As it turns out, holy shit, is it ever a rat's nest? This whole thing,
news, man. This is old news, man.
This whole thing is 100% fabricated fuckery.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you're saying it's old news. It is in terms of like people who are collecting games and whatnot. And have seen the value and how it trends over time on average. We know what it's more or less actually worth. The money that's been funneled in when it starts to hit these numbers aren't game people, they're people looking to make money. And when that starts happening, you know a bubble is in effect, and you know that there's going to be a bursting of said bubble at some point. But then the question becomes, what the fuck started blowing the bubble up in the first place? And somebody who did a really spectacular job, 2 videos on the topic. Carl Jobst, I think is his last name, perhaps.
So Carl is a regular on my stream. I was talking. Yeah,
your first video, you're a clip in the first of the 2 videos actually, where you were, or no, but yeah, I think it was the first video where he was talking about collectors, and you were like. Holding your I remember the big box that you got that one time out on the thing, and his video goes through it. In his recent one from, I think this was like, I can't remember, it was like 4 days ago or a couple weeks ago now or whatever it was. It might even been a couple months ago now. I don't remember.
It's been several months since the first
one, but the second one is more recent. And he had like an actual lawyer talking about some of the stuff that cropped up in this last batch of info. But holy shit, it's a racket. It's blatant too, like it's like sort of hidden, but the moment you get like 2 pieces of information, the whole house of cards just falls apart.
Follow the money.
Wild times, bro.
Yeah. So anyway, instead of going through all that, you guys should go and check it out.
Well, that was it. I didn't have anything else to say about it. It was just like I was going to recommend it.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It's a rabbit hole, and it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. It's basically certain individuals rigging an entire grading system. Them buying a bunch of games, artificially raising the prices by buying their own games under different entities, and creating a demand for games so that, you know, they can cash in for millions and millions of dollars.
And then had ins with the auction house that then like everyone's like playing together.
It's fucking bizarre. So definitely go check it out. It's wild.
Yeah,
it's
so
wild.
that was wild. I just watched I watched the second one because it popped up in one of my news feeds. Even though it was kind of old, it popped up in one of my news feeds. And then, excuse me, I watched the first one as well. Both fantastically done. Definitely go and check those out. The Xbox Series X, or S, sorry, Mr. Black, outsold all other consoles, including the Switch, by the way, which is something that you rarely ever see, during Black Friday, which really proves one thing. The console that's in stock is going to outsell everyone else. It's just kind of the way it was.
Yeah.
There were enough Series S's that everyone snatched those bitches up and outsold everyone, including the Switch, so... even though that's the case, obviously I'm sure Microsoft is thrilled with the fact that they sold so many consoles on Black Friday. And demand continues to be insane for all of the next-gen consoles. M's best friend was hoping to get a PS5 for her fiance, and she had no idea how to make that happen because for the average consumer, it's like you have to learn a totally new skill set in order to fucking attain one of these things. And so she was asking if I had any idea, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. So it took me a while. And one night I was up until 4 a.m. or some shit because there were drops that Walmart was doing at like fucking 3 a.m. for some reason. But in this last run on Amazon, I miraculously fucking did it. But it's like, the skill set's hilarious. It's the skill set of, you need to know when shit's just being broken online. So like, I went to the page, I click add cart, and it's like, no, sorry bro, it's out of stock. And then I'd refresh the page and click, out of stock, refresh the page, click, oh, adds to cart, go to your cart, then it tells you it's out of stock. I was like, oh no, there's some shit. They're slowly releasing the shit. So just fucking refresh. Eventually one got in the cart. Check out at Mach 4. You can't wait for more than fucking 0.2. You already need to be logged in. If you're fumbling in your wallet, your purse to get your credit card, you already lost.
Yeah. Memorize that card number. Copy and paste it.
Exactly. And so so I secured the bag. We've got and it will be here tomorrow. But the insanity of still getting a console is crazy. So it's not surprising that on Black Friday, if Series S, that they did have a good stock of Series S's, it's not shocking that they sold so many of them. And that's wonderful. It's a great console. I mean, loads of people are going to be very thrilled with that, especially if you pair it with Game Pass. I mean, holy shit. What a great pairing that doesn't cost you a fortune.
Yep.
Speaking of Game Pass Ultimate subscribers are going to get monthly Halo Infinite bonuses, it seems, with the first one coming on launch day, which is the 8th of this month, December. The first bundle comes with an assault rifle skin, 4 double XP boosters, and 4 challenge swaps, which are basically just, you know, you get your challenges for your battle pass, and maybe one of them is get 5 killing sprees, and you're not a Giga Chad, so you want to swap that bitch out. Otherwise, it's going to be stuck on your fucking list for the next week. So you can use it to swap that out. I personally think that's absolutely fucking insane that exists, but here we are anyway. Yeah, so that's not too bad. You know, you're already getting everything you possibly want out of the game because you have a Game Pass Ultimate. Now you get a little extra slap on the ass, and how do you do as well. Speaking of slap on the ass and how do you do, Respawn Entertainment announced yesterday that it will be taking the original Titanfall down from marketplaces March 1st of next year. Multiplayer servers will exist beyond that point for at least some time, although they didn't specify for those who still own the game. Titanfall 1 and 2 have both suffered pretty spectacularly from DDoSing that has been ongoing for fucking, oh my god, it's gonna be like a year now, or close to it. And Apex has also partially suffered from this as well. There's been massive targeted attacks, and I'm not even sure why, but they've been really fucking on Titanfall 1 and 2. And then to couple with that, just general neglect from the developer, because as soon as they brought out Apex is literally like 3/4 Titanfall. They just stripped the fucking badass mechs out of it and said, here's a game to play and pay us money for loot boxes. And that's a shame, because Titanfall 2 is considered by a lot of people to be one of the greatest first-person shooters of all time, and one of the best multiplayer first-person shooters of all time. And of course, we've discussed many times how they chose the world's worst release date, fucking destroyed it from day one, and then just didn't pay any attention to it. It's like they literally left it alone as a black sheep of the family to die in the streets, and then said, you know what, we need to make a new game, Apex, and then they just went away and did that and forgot about Titanfall forever. So yeah, there you go. So if you have Titanfall 1 already, you'll still have multiplayer servers if you're still playing it, one of the, handful, a few thousand people still playing that. If not, and you're interested, make sure you buy Titanfall so that you can at least still have access to play the campaign, or, one way or the other with the multiplayer or without. And there you go. So, sad times for one of the industry's favorite first-person shooters. CDProjekt Red. Speaking of sad times, CDProjekt Red has announced that while it's still working on Cyberpunk 2077, as well as the next-gen versions of The Witcher 3, which you'll recall got delayed alongside of the next-gen releases of Cyberpunk as well, they have begun preliminary work on their next game title. They haven't even gotten this bitch out and not broken. And they're already telling everyone that they're starting to move on. They have one foot out the door. They've packed the boxes. The boxes are at the door. They've opened the door. The first foot is out the door, and they've got their their favorite things in hand in that first box, and their ass is heading towards the moving truck.
Yep.
And color me unsurprised, but all the same, what's been very interesting is how it comes in waves. And I don't like being a conspiracy theorist, but when it comes to this game, I get a little conspiracy theoristy. It comes in waves, how it will randomly pop up. People on social media will start talking about how Cyberpunk was always like this incredible game, and people are just discovering it now that it's like a really good game. And that just happened again in the last week, where out of nowhere, Cyberpunk really just starts trending, and a bunch of people that, they just start talking about how this game has always been amazing and it never really had that many problems, and people were just making shit up, and it was really just a small group of people that had issues, and it wasn't a big deal that it was taken off the PlayStation Store for fucking 6 months or whatever. None of that mattered, and they just shouldn't have made it for the old consoles, etc. And a lot of these accounts are like, oh, this account was made in October of 2021.
It's bots, man. They ain't real. Game's dog shit. Ain't fooling nobody, man. Social media ain't fooling me. They're already working on their next game. They done with this. That shit was an epic fail. They done. It's over.
And I really do. I compare this so much No Man's Sky, because when No Man's Sky came out, it was busted to fuck. It was 1/100th of what Sean had said it was going to be leading up to launch. And for me, I still enjoyed what was there, but I also knew that it was broken as shit. That shit was fucking wrecked. It was one of the worst fucking launches of a game ever. The difference is, they just went away and came back until the game was fixed. And Cyberpunk, which has got a lot more money and people behind it than Hello Games had for No Man's Sky, is already getting ready to leave the house.
Yeah, but the thing is, the difference is No Man's Sky, they had to make it right. Or that dude's career is done.
Yeah.
He's out of the industry. He's done. These guys, Respawn Entertainment.
Not Respawn, CDProjekt Red.
Or CDProjekt Red, sorry. They can drop this
They
ball.
can take one L.
Yeah, and then they got, hey, we got The Witcher. We got this new project. We learned our lesson. We listened to you. They can do that shit. He couldn't. So
That's
he had no
true.
choice, man. He was fighting for his ability to create games ever again.
It's true.
Yeah.
And now look, he looks like he might only ever have to create No Man's Sky for the rest of his fucking career.
Yep.
But there you go. So we'll see just how. I mean, we already had that very fancy, totally not labeled roadmap that came out for Cyberpunk not long ago. So in vast swaths of time, we will receive updates and see how it all goes. I would still like Cyberpunk to be playable, because I would like to play it, because I liked the aesthetic and everything. And I think that there was a good game in there. It was just hidden beneath it's completely abysmal completion and broken ass bullshit. So, I'm pulling for him because I'm sure the developers are also, like, a lot of the people that worked on it were obviously not happy when they released a game that they worked on for that long, and it just they're forced to release it and it just gets shit on, right? Like, nobody's going to be happy with that.
No.
So I'm pulling for you.
I'm not.
Bethesda, I'm pulling for the developers. Like, and I mean that. I don't mean the high end guys. I mean the ladies and gents in the trenches making the games. I'm pulling for them. Fuck the idiot that put that game out in the state that it was in, and then blame. Remember, blame QA.
Can't do that. Can't do that, man. Can't do that.
Bethesda put out a video this week with the developers talking about Starfield and the typical fluff around passion, etc. You know, it's like that usual fluff piece where there's like a bunch of headshots of developers being like, man, I grew up playing Bethesda games and I just loved them so much and I wanted to get into the video game industry, and so I did, and then my dream job came along and now I get to make Bethesda games too. And so it's one of those videos.
Yeah.
The only good thing to come out of it was that, of course, we got to see like slightly more little snippets here and there, screenshots, very minimal kind of gamey stuff from Starfield itself in this video, and so that was really the only reason to watch that. Everything else is just the usual bullshit Todd Howard fluff with a few other developers behind him.
I remember when I was 6 years old and I popped in Skyrim for the first time. Here I am, 26 years old, and I'm still putting in Skyrim. And now I get to work on the next iteration. How awesome is that?
Man, you know what though? I talked about this on Twitter the other day too with a couple people. It was like, the shittiest thing about this whole ordeal with Bethesda and their games, as much as we meme on them, is the reality is, in the world of action adventure RPG, like the open world stuff.
Yeah, they're the only ones, man.
Nobody even approaches.
Yeah, man.
Like, the closest was, coincidentally, The Witcher 3 was the closest, and it released in shambles and took years to fucking patch itself into, like, relevancy. But, like, which I'm sure lots of people would disagree with, but that's whatever world you live in. But Skyrim also being broken, at least it was Bethesda. You knew you were getting, I suppose. All the same, nobody really gets close. I mean, the Elder Scrolls and Fallout as open world action adventure RPGs are just the show.
Yep, they win by default. Yeah.
And so they can just continue on. And as much as I shit on them, and as much as I know they rely on modders and stuff to help, like, get these games off the ground in the first few months with fixes and all this other shit, at least they make that an option. They give you literally the fucking tools for the video game that they used, by and large, to make the video game. Nobody fucking does that shit.
Yeah.
So, as broken and busted as Todd Howard's stupid bomber jacket ass is, with all of his friggin' platitudes and nonsense, when the games pop up, they're bangers. You can't fucking deny that they're not bangers. They might still have the same bugs from 15 years ago, but nobody does it. So you just take it. You take it like a bitch, and you like it.
Yep.
And the thing about Starfield is that this is far enough apart from their usual stable that I'm very intrigued. How does Bethesda do open world action adventure RPG in space? How does that fucking look? So very intrigued with that.
It looks like Skyrim.
In space?
You know, in space. That's what it looks like. We'll see.
But we'll see next year. That's a next year, assuming it doesn't get delayed, that's a next year event. Halo Infinite continues a positive trajectory in its multiplayer beta. This is just a tack on here that I had, but server desync was worse this week. I forgot to mention that when I was just rambling at the beginning of the podcast here, but the server desync was substantially worse this week than it was previous. I don't know if that's just an increased player count or the servers are just going through growing pains or what. It was also visible during the HCS matches as well, and they were having quite a number of connection issues throughout the HCS rounds this week. We also discovered that there really isn't a current in-game method of reporting cheaters. And the community manager was talking about this on social media this week, where he was pointing out that, yes, we know that everyone's yelling at us that we don't have an in-game reporting feature for people that seem to be cheating, but this is our solution as it stands, and the solution is fucking terrible. So the solution is go into the theater mode after your game is done, record the whatever you think is the evidence of this person cheating, save that video out, because you can save it out to your desktop or whatever. And then they have a third-party website in which you file the complaint with the person's username and upload the video there.
You lost me at record.
Which you've already fucked up.
Yeah, you lost me
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago. You don't externalize any of that shit.
No.
And this is another one of my gripes with this game, is that it's got the core right, but everything else is a fucking dumpster fire in my opinion. Like, literally, you cannot launch a online competitive multiplayer shooter in 2021 that's free to play, especially with no in-game cheating reporting functionality or functioning anti-cheat. You can't, and they've done both of those things. So the amount of fire that they're playing with is insane right now, and it really makes me question why they even bothered to do this multiplayer beta before the release of the campaign. I don't really follow, but I guess lucky for them, the gameplay's been so good that it's overshadowed the rest of it for now. That won't last forever. That shit gonna shine. That shine is gonna buff down to like a dull fucking sheen.
They got till New Year, man. They got till New Year to clean some of this stuff up. But the game's good, so we'll see what happens.
Thankfully. So there you go. And that's it. That's it for gaming news, Mr. Black, which means it's time to sell out.
Hey, patreon.com/lagtv. Head on over there, throw some money at the screen. All right. If you can't afford it, that's okay. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave reviews, share it with a friend. Support it in your own way. It's all good. You can also go and support our sponsors, which helps support us as well. We got NordVPN. In the description of the video, there's a link. Use the promo code OTT. If you're listening to this, you can go to nordvpn.com/OTT. Use that promo code and get a massive discount, some bonus months when you get a 2-year subscription. Stay safe, stay anonymous, watch different regions of Netflix. Use that when you're using public Wi-Fi. Use up to 6 simultaneous devices. You only need 1 account per household. And it's 2021. You need to have a VPN. I don't know anybody that doesn't have a VPN in 2021. So go ahead and pick one up. Supports the stream. It's a win for you. It's a win for the sponsor. It's a win-win-win-win-win all the way around. And we got Elgato. Some big sales happening right now for Elgato. So make sure you go to Amazon or their website. Link will be in the description below. And grab yourself an Elgato product, whether it's a face cam, which is the webcam, the Go XLR, or not the Go XLR, sorry, the Wave XLR. Because if you're buying
just XLR,
if you're buying a Go XLR over even your plug and play Wave 3, you're crazy. All right. And if you want to use an XLR audio device, you can get the Wave XLR, which now you can plug in your condenser mic or your dynamic mic, anything that uses phantom power, and they've got it. They've got a ton of software as well, so you can do all the bells and whistles that you can do with your Go XLR, made out of plastic, that has every freaking problem known to man when it comes to connecting to OBS and everything else. Bypass the garbage. You have no idea how many streamers I have seen on Twitch, on Twitter, saying I'm having Go XLR issues. I'll boot my stream up later, or I got to reinstall some shit. That stuff is costing you time and money. Go and do it right. Buy some Elgato products and don't buy in to the cheap plastic with RGB lights, all right, or RBG or whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's a waste of money, and it's overpriced. If the stuff was $100, I'd be shutting my mouth right now. It's not. It's too much. So go and buy some Elgato products, and that's it.
Now it's time for.
Can't you tell I love Go XLR? Movies and TV.
Dude, Go XLR is doo-doo butter. I've been trying to tell people, before it even launched, I looked at it and I said,
that ain't it. Yeah, bro.
I'm gonna let you know right now, they spent more money trying to make it look good than they did on those preamps and on the software.
Props to them, man. Their marketing is top tier, and there's a lot of streamers that'll just take a free device and get free promotion. Hey, good on them. Their marketing team is on point. I'll give them
crushing it. Can you feel the cage, Mr. Black?
Yes,
Are you feeling
I
the cage,
I
Mr.
feel the cage,
Mr. Black?
man. I feel the cage.
Nicolas Cage is set to play the role of Dracula in the upcoming monster movie Renfield, which will be his first major studio movie since 2011. He's done pretty much exclusively indie films for the last decade, and now he's making it back to the big boys and slotting right into a role that he was obviously born to fucking play. Dracula. He's got the hairline for it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just not a big Nicolas Cage fan, to be honest. I don't think he's a particularly good actor.
You know me, I'm all about my Nicolas Cage, bro.
I know.
Look, I'm not saying he needs Oscars, but damn it if I'm not entertained when I watch me some Nicolas Cage.
That's what the movie experience is all about. And I heard he did great in Pig, so hey, good on him. He's brought his career back. Don't fumble this, because if you fumble this one, you ain't getting another big movie. It ain't happening. You're gonna be sticking to these like $300,000 paydays where you have like 15 lines and you just got to show up and say Nicolas Cage one-liners and be done with yourself. So don't fuck this one up.
Yeah, that's happening. But yes, Pig was good for sure. I watched it. My only complaint with Pig, I think, was probably, and I mentioned this before, is that while it wasn't quite like Game of Thrones, pitch black torches level of dark, it was like a lot of the scenes were fucking getting awfully damn close to that shit. They needed to learn how to light their scenes maybe a little. I know they were going for moody. There's like moody, and then I need to be a cat in order to see what's happening.
And Game of Thrones. Yeah. You went too Game of Thrones-y.
Never go full Game of Thrones, Mr. Black.
Which just ruins the moody.
The Matrix Resurrections got another teaser trailer this week, Mr. Black. Actually, I think it was yesterday, the day before.
It's like having sex with the lights off. You know what I'm saying? Like it needs to be dark, but there needs to be some sort of lights on.
You need silhouettes at the very least.
I think I've said this on the podcast before, but like I got the red light, right? So when the red light is on, I don't know if I said this before. Maybe it was on my stream. Maybe it was here. I don't remember. I have a light. And whenever I walk in a room and the red light's on, I know Kayla wants some D, all right? Or if I put on the red light, she knows what's up.
You turn your bedroom into the red light district?
Well, it's just a lamp. I have like a lamp on the side of and it turns all different colors, and it's red light district time. So when that shit's on, listen, there's enough light in there so that I can see what's going on, but it's still dark enough to set the moody. You know what I'm saying? If it's pitch black, I can't see what's going on here.
You don't want to be like in stark light where you're like you feel like you're in a movie studio. You don't want that. And let's be honest, none of us are in shape enough to want to see ourselves.
I don't want to see all that.
No,
but I want to see enough,
silhouette.
Man. That's it. I just want to see enough. I got to see some things jiggling. I got to I got to get some visual stimulation going on. I ain't trying to fucking have a Games of Thrones sex scene, when it's just pitch black. I mean, what the hell? You're better off sexing anything at that point, right? So, there's got to be some kind of light.
I like the concept though. Literally the red light district. You turn that on. Man.
Dude, you got to steal
signal.
That.
It's like the bat signal.
It is the bat signal. Everybody, Kayla and I knows what's going on, what's going down when the red light's on. When the red light's on, it's like, hey, it's time.
Look, you know what?
There's no initiation needed. That's the initiation.
You know what the next level of this is? Is that you get two cutouts for the top of the lamp. All right, you get one that's in the shape of a dick. You get one in the shape of an ass. And then when she wants the dick, you want the ass. It's the red light, but then it's literally the bat signal. You look up at the ceiling, and there's a giant penis on the ceiling, or just a giant ass on the sheet. Now you know. Now it's the actual bat signal.
Now we know what's going on.
Now you really know what's going on. I think that's the next step.
All right.
To it. Maybe we should make a product and sell it in the sex store. Dave will buy it.
Damn right they will.
Dave, the Asian guy, will come back next year, and part of his $10,000 buy will be the bat signal.
Yep, and a 12-inch donger. Get him, Dave.
The Matrix Resurrections got another teaser focusing on the line from the original, in which they said that deja vu happens when something has changed in the Matrix, or is changed in the Matrix, pointing to many of the callbacks the original trailer for this movie made, which gives more context to all those callbacks. excuse me, instead of just being like raw fan service, they've given some reason for it to be. It's obviously still fan service, but they have made it like canonically sensible fan service in a way that I got to slow clap them for. They've managed to keep the nostalgia while also giving it a reason within the Matrix for existing, which is, you know, the out was the black cat in the first movie and the glitch and deja vu, and everyone's freaking out because that means that something's changed and the bad guys are en route to fuck your day up. And so that whole thing, so that teaser kind of doubled down on that and really went over that as well. And you know, I'm a little bit happier about that, because before I thought we were just getting like, you know, it was starting to feel like a you know, a Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah.
Where it was pure fan service and we weren't even going to attempt to fucking hide the fact that it was fan service. It was literally like, here's a Death Star and here we go, we're going to do the thing again and fucking everyone's going to do the you know, it's like the trench run, whatever the fucking, well, okay. Thankfully, it doesn't seem to be that anyway. They've elaborated on that, so that was nice to see. Other than that, that's all I got. I don't think I haven't watched anything. I haven't watched anything movie really related in the last week. That's at least
Kel and I've been watching the Kevin Hart show with Wesley Snipes. It's like a show that's like loosely based around Kevin Hart's, you know, career and stuff, and then like he has a brother that gets him into some shit.
Oh, I think I saw a trailer for that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Kayla doesn't like watching it because it makes her like anxious. It's like one of these shows that like not a lot of good happens in it. It's just watching someone's life spiral. But it's good, man. It's pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna continue watching that. Outside of that, we haven't really been sitting down and doing a whole lot of watching really anything these days.
Oh, did watch probably the first 2 hours of that Beatles thing that's on Disney Plus that Peter Jackson did, where the Get Back tour and taking like 150 hours worth of footage and paring that down into a mini doc type situation, and that's been kind of fascinating. You know, I'm not the world's biggest Beatles fan, but I obviously respect how many popular songs that still get played today that they managed to crank out in their time as a group. You know, I got to also give credit to Jackson and the team that managed to take all this footage and clean it up, audio and video, to get it to where it is now, because it's quite spectacular, and just really interesting. It's interesting to watch any musician go through the creative process from nothing, like we don't have a song, to we suddenly have a song. And there are parts of this where you're watching, like for example, when for Get Back, the song Get Back specifically, you're watching Paul McCartney. They've been at, you know, the guys have been at odds for the last day or two or whatever, and they've been kind of butting heads a bit, and nothing's really cropped up that anyone's super happy with. And then everyone's really quiet, and Paul just starts playing to himself and just starts like vocalizing. He's not singing a lot of words or anything. He's vocal, and he's just trying to find something. You're watching him go through the process, playing his guitar, and everyone else is dead quiet. Like Ringo, I think's like smoking a fucking cigarette. He didn't give a fuck. Everyone's just sitting there, and he's just playing. And then eventually, like a minute into this, he goes from having absolutely fucking nothing, and then Get Back comes out of like fucking nowhere. And he finds it, he locks in on it, and all of a sudden you see the other boys, as soon as it's fucking wild, as soon as because they've been together for so long.
Oh yeah, they all start going, right?
They all perk up, and then it's like they all hop in, and all of a sudden they've got a fucking song in like this like 5-minute window. Yep. So anytime you get to see something like that, because it's rare, like it's very rare for any artist, especially of like the size of the Beatles, to have recorded a process like that for you to watch it. And so that was the interesting thing for me, while I'm not a huge Beatles fan, to see that kind of process and also see them at that point in their career where they weren't exactly all buddy-buddy with one another. They were kind of over it, and they were getting ready to, like, they even talk about it openly. They're like, maybe this is just it, boys.
Yeah.
This is the show.
This is the show.
This is the one, and so yeah, very very intriguing so far. And I maybe I'll pick away at it. It's something to put in the background, and very interesting from just watching the musical process, and also just knowing that they went from no show to let's make an album that we want to do live. So we want to record this live with an audience, but we have to do it in 14 or so days because Ringo has a movie at the end of the month, and so we have to go from 0 songs, 14 days. Rehearsal, live studio album recording in front of an audience for the first time in like they hadn't been live in like years or whatever at that point, and they did all that shit in like 14 days.
Crazy.
So, yeah, very interesting to watch indeed. But yeah, that's all. Oh, the only other thing I watched it a second time. It's not a new movie. We watched Jack Reacher, which I just get a laugh about every time I watch it. Em wanted to watch it because she couldn't remember if she'd seen it or not. And Jack Reacher, if you ever wanted to know whether or not Tom Cruise had one of the largest egos on the planet, just watch Jack Reacher. Yeah. Jack Reacher is 1 2-hour long Tom Cruise ego stroke. The whole fucking movie. Everything from the character being a god at everything with 0 faults. This character has zero faults. This is not a James Bond. This is not 0. He is perfect. He is Jesus reincarnated. He is the son of God himself, whatever God you subscribe to. Jack Reacher is that God's son. Comes down, infallible, solves everything, has an idyllic memory, god tier fucking fighting skills from top to bottom. Every woman that sees him in this movie, regardless if they're 16 or 160, all look at him the same way. Elevator stairs, smirking, oh, I just got wet. Every single fucking one of them. To the point where there's an awkward couple of scenes where one of the characters is that girl that's on the younger side, and she starts propositioning him like, oh, just get it over with, just don't hurt me. Like he's gonna like fuck her in the office or whatever. And he's like, everything in this movie is a weird, awkward Tom Cruise ego stroke. But it's fucking hilarious because it's that. And it's just such a great example of how it's like Tom Cruise knew that he could never be James Bond or some shit, so they're like, fuck, we need our own. What's another name that kind of sounds like a James Bondy type thing that he does almost identical shit, you know, that kind of grandiose nature? Jack Reacher. That's a book series. Let's make it happen. And so they did. Anyway, so yeah, it's a giggle. It's a fucking giggle. But yeah, watching the opening and just seeing all the girls. It's like a montage in the beginning of the movie of every girl looking at Tom Cruise, and you're like,
Tom Cruise, man,
bro,
put some respect on the name. Put some respect on it.
And it's just funnier because he's getting older and older. So in Jack Reacher, he's got like the shirtless scene, and the girl's like, "Can you please put a shirt on?" And Tom's like leaning in the bathroom doorway with the light, just like the right top-down lighting, and it's like all of Tom Cruise in his glory at like whatever he was, like 52 years old or whatever the fuck he was in this movie. And you're just like, Jesus, Tom.
Get him, Tom.
Fucking just
get him.
Just give her a rest. Jack Reach Around, exactly. There you go. That's the fucking one. And that's all I got for movies and TV. And so I guess we'll move on to the last segment, which is called
Tech Support.
The amount of indigestion I cannot seem to get away from right now.
You don't even know, bro.
Holy cow. Tech Support. Patreon.com/LagTV. It's where you want to go. $10 or more a month helps support this podcast. Keeps it going. So you can hear about me, laugh about Tom Cruise and his ego, and get a couple of extra perks. Chiefly, you are able to ask us questions each and every week on a post that I put up before the podcast called Tech Support. We answer as many of those as we can in the time that we have. So let's go.
We'll do it.
Dan Jim, we're still working through the ages. Top 3 PS3 games. It's going to be more difficult.
Jeez, man. I actually don't even have an answer for that because I don't... PS3? Jesus.
Here's the problem.
I didn't play much PS3, man.
I played about 3 PS3 games, and 2 of them were sports titles. Like, I guess if I had to just throw them out there, it would be probably, take your pick of, like, The Last of Us, the original The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Uncharted. Whichever Uncharted you want to choose.
I didn't play it, right? So
neither did I. I'm just saying because I never played any PS3 games. So like, Last of Us, Uncharted, and What was the one that the team that made Guerrilla Games made before Horizon Zero Dawn? It was a shooter and it was really good. Oh shit.
Dude, I'm gonna go with The Last of Us, Dead Space.
Killzone, I think, yeah. Was it Killzone? Maybe not. Maybe not Killzone.
Last of Us, Dead Space, and Grand Theft Auto 5. Boom.
Oh, GTA 5 was PS3, wasn't it? It like snuck on there.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that's like a
There you go.
cheat. It's a cheat code, but I'll take it.
It is a bit of a cheat code, but you know what?
I'll take
Beggars
it.
can't be choosers. I didn't play much PS3. Like that PS3 era was like me getting into PC gaming, like, you know, really just taking over. You know, I didn't really play much PS3 because that's when StarCraft and everything was.
Honestly, if I got to keep it 100, PS3 was a fucking shit console in general. They went through like 3 different iterations. They went from fat PS3 backwards compatibility to no backwards compatibility to like just all manner of fuckery. And
let's keep it 100, man. That fat PS3, the 60 gig backwards compatible is the GOAT, man. You can play PS1, PS2, and PS3 games on there. But it's only really the GOAT because you can play those backwards.
Exactly. Like you get beyond that version of the system, and I don't want nothing to do with PS3.
Yeah, it's funny enough. The PS3 and PS5 are the only consoles that are in my media room. That's it, because I don't need anything else.
Well, not when you're on PC, especially because Xbox, all the stuff's on PC now too.
Yeah, I just don't play.
That too. Games. You just don't play. You don't play any games.
That's true. I play Grand Theft Auto.
You play Grand Theft Auto on a daily basis. It kind of starts and stops there. Christmas specific question, Mr. Black, but probably one that's white. All right. I believe is how it comes in from Logan. Fruitcake lover, yes or no?
Oh, hell no. Hate it. Even my grandmother, she was one hell of a cook and a baker. She used to make fruitcake all the time. It was the only thing that she ever made that I just did not like and eat. I just don't like fruitcake.
We talked about this on my stream, I think it was yesterday, and fruitcake is a thing that if it's there and I've got no other options, you know, I'm a finger food guy. I'm gonna eat some fucking fruitcake. I'm gonna be happy about it. I'm gonna eat it. I'm like, it's just that for me, the best fruitcake I've ever had is still going to be the bottom of the list of Christmas related bakery items that I want to eat. So the absolute best, the cream of the crop, is still going to be bottom of the fucking list for me. So, not really much of a fruitcake person myself. And it definitely seems to skew for like the older demographic for sure. Like the older demographic love them some fruitcake. I don't think that's gone forward very, very readily. That's for sure. Nick Winters asks, "Hey Nostradamus," that's what they call us around here. Okay. When will the NFT bubble burst? What will be the most expensive purchase?
Oh, I think that shit's just starting, man. And it's gonna go into the, you know, I don't keep track of it, but
I don't follow NFTs close enough to know like where we would be in the chart that you would before we hit like what's called like the bull trap. So if you like look at a bubble, what tends to happen is you get like this, you know, it's just kind of like meandering along and then shit just pops off. Usually it's some sort of like influence that doesn't actually increase the extrinsic value very much. It just takes off, and then at the top, right towards the top, somebody eventually, usually somebody that's holding a fairly substantial amount of whatever asset you're talking about, decides, you know what, boys, I'm cashing the fuck out. I think this is where the top is, and they do. And when that happens and it moves the needle enough, people go, fuck, the roller coaster's going down the other way, and then a bunch of people start selling. But there's still hesitancy. People are like, oh, no, I don't really fucking know. And the first thing will happen, people go, oh, I'm going to buy the dip. And so you get this little trench where people start buying the dip. But then, so it will come back up a little bit more. But people are like, nah, fuck that shit. This ain't it. And that's the bull trap, that little fucking dip in there where people buy that first dip. And then it falls off the face of the earth. And that's where the bubble crashes. Where is the NFT in that chart? I think we're still only like halfway up the fucking first run. Like the thing about NFTs is that they're largely based around art, and the thing about art is that with very few exceptions, especially when you're talking about digital art, this is even more of the case, is that the base value is like nothing because it's not even physical, right? There's not even the material value of the art piece. Art is almost exclusively evaluated based on like who did it, when was it done, what's the context that we can sell this on. It's the same reason why a Van Gogh will sell for like $20 million or whatever. It's not because they might be the greatest painting of all time, but it was Van Gogh that did it, and it looks, good to certain people, and he did it at this point in his career, and he painted it in this room at this time, and there was shit going on, and it speaks to this, that, whatever. And you get people that will put all this together into a story. And then that story is what makes that painting worth $20 million to somebody with boatloads of fucking money. And the thing with NFTs, since they're art-based, is that you're going to have the same thing happen. Like, nobody is looking at, like, CryptoPunks, like the thing that, like, Nate Shot's got a profile picture that's a CryptoPunk, and a couple of the other, you'll notice them have it for their profile pictures on Twitter. Or, like, the ape ones, the fucking, like, which is the same concept, profile picture, like, randomized ape shit. Nobody looks at that and goes, man, that's a really incredible piece of art that truly took somebody any amount of skill and time or energy to craft. It must be worth $3 million in Ethereum. Zero people. You've got people making art that's so much better and so much nicer on every possible level. So, what makes it hard to know where the bubble is that it's so speculatory. Good fucking luck. So I don't know. I still think we're in the early days. Because now we're seeing companies jump on and do NFTs. We're seeing, like, mainstream shit. Where they're like, I'm waiting for my Mountain Dew NFT to happen underneath a bottle cap. Or some fucking nonsense. Or, like, a tab. You input a code for the chance to win an NFT. So I think we're still early days. I think it's going to be obscene amounts of money. Because if most of the people that seem to be dealing in this stuff are, like, old crypto bodies. Which means that these guys have shitloads of Ethereum. If you just started investing in Ethereum like 3 years ago, you might have like 5 Ethereum and you're like, oh my god, it's so much money. There are people dealing in NFTs that were farming Ethereum when it was worth nothing, and so they're just swimming in Ethereum. So it's not like it's nothing for them. Like it's $3 million or $300,000, but in their Ethereum bank, that means absolutely fucking nothing. So we got a long way to go yet. I would imagine. I have no date as to when the fuck that could possibly end. Because people are crazy. And this is like some Beanie Babies type shit, so Lord only knows how long it will last. Henry asks, what way do you prefer your steak cooked, and what sauce do you prefer with it, if any sauce, I'll add. He prefers rare with just salt and pepper, and that's the show.
I'm medium. Medium guy.
Alright. Do you do sauce at all with yours?
Typically not. I just... medium
are you
steak
an onion?
Are
you an onion and mushroom guy with it as well, or do you just like your steak straight up, like as straight up as possible? Salt, pepper before they do it, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty just straight up. If I'm at a nice restaurant, and they're like, "Hey, would you like some sautéed mushrooms and stuff?" I'll order them. But yeah, I'm just a medium guy. When I was younger, in my teens, I was well done. My early 20s, I was mid-well. Now I'm medium. And I don't think I'm going beyond that because it's a bit of a crapshoot when you get medium. Sometimes you get it's like a little less than medium or
rare,
a little over.
medium well.
Yeah. So medium is like it's usually when there's a bit of a fuck up, it's still edible and it tastes fine. So, and I don't like bloody ass steaks. It just doesn't do it for me.
I'm a medium rare guy, personally. And whether or not I have anything with it depends on how good the cut was in the first place, because some cuts have flavor and some don't. You're not going to see me fucks with a filet mignon with nothing because it has zero flavor. You're also rarely going to see me actually spend my own money on it because it has zero flavor and they charge a fortune for filet. So, I like if I'm having steak, a very small amount of a sauce that's got a fair amount of vinegar in it. I like a little vinegar to cut the fat that's in the steak. And that's it. So I don't douse my shit. Some people fucking swim their shit Or they have like this sauce where they're dipping the whole fucking like piece in.
No, because you can't even taste the steak anymore, man.
You just like the sauce. You don't like the steak. You just like the sauce at that point.
Yeah, fuck that.
So that's what. So like for me, like even like a really straightforward off the shelf sauce like A1 or HP, both of them are relatively vinegary, and I like that vinegar profile. So just a little dab will do you. And away you go. But it's New York strip like all day. I don't fucks around with like the other, like it's a New York strip. Tastes good. It's still tender.
Sirloin. I like a sirloin.
Oh, you're a sirloin guy?
I like sirloin a lot, yeah.
But yeah, fillets. Don't buy a fillet unless you just like burning money. Cause it don't taste like anything. It's fucking just flavorless. Volkus asks, he said, watched Arcane last weekend, which is that, League of Legends show that's gotten nothing but like 10s everywhere it goes. And like the theme song enough to add it to my collection. It's Enemy by Imagine Dragons, if anyone else wants it. I think this is the second or third time Imagine Dragons has worked with Riot to create a theme song. What was a song from a TV or a movie that you immediately wanted to get a copy of, to listen to, I guess, not just within the context of the film?
I mean, Interstellar, man. Hans Zimmer.
I have a couple of Hans Zimmer, I think, related things on my or in my physical collection. Well, it's digital, but like I bought the lossless audio versions of the tracks. I don't have Interstellar. I do have The Last Samurai, which was also Zimmer.
Dude, I gotta watch that movie. It's been so long since I've seen it.
I watched it. I watched it. I watched it 2 years ago. I think either close to the start of the pandemic, somewhere in there. Dude, that I know you. I just shit on Tom Cruise because I really don't like Tom Cruise all that much. I do think he does his job extraordinarily well, but he's fucking kooky. And the one movie that I watched where I didn't feel it was Tom Cruise playing Tom Cruise was The Last Samurai, and it's the only one I've ever seen him in where I could feel that way about him. Every other movie I've seen him in, I'm just watching. It's like Ryan Reynolds now. When you watch a Ryan Reynolds movie, you're watching them. You're not watching them act as anything. You're watching them. So yeah, Last Samurai, really, really good for that. I'll say this: when we were younger, The Matrix, bro, 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
3 especially with that last fight scene in the rain.
Papaya.
We definitely downloaded that and listened to the shit out of that song. So that's probably I think the two. Anything from Hans Zimmer I'm willing to listen to, and then that. As far as like TV shows, I don't know if I've ever. The only TV show that and I didn't download it because it's just so freely, like when you watch the beginning of every TV show for it, is Star Trek Voyager. The intro theme for Star Trek Voyager is one of my favorite ones from TV shows. But yeah, more of that stuff is in movies because. Until more recently, where TV shows, and I guess I'll put in quotation marks, started to become mini fucking cinema experiences. Yeah. The soundtracks weren't like focal points. They were more like complementary pieces than supposed to stand out in any real way.
Tron's a good one too. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, Tron. I own that one as well, for sure. Of all the Daft Punk, I think I own like 3 Daft Punk albums, and the Tron one is one of those. Jorbach says, "Here comes that holiday weight. What are you planning to do to avoid the pounds, Mr. Black?"
Well, my stomach's a mess, so I've actually dropped like 5 pounds over the last couple weeks. I'm working out again too, like trying to exercise. Like I'm not doing anything crazy, but I don't foresee me actually gaining weight this winter.
You've got a built-in mechanism already.
Yeah, my
helping
stomach
you
is
out.
my stomach is like, nah, bro, you ain't getting crazy. So yeah, it is what it is.
I probably won't really put on much weight either, and the reality about that is that just like last year, although I should like, my cousin that moved out west with her husband to settle out there, they're gonna be here, and her brother is in the city, and so all 3 of the kids in the family and their significant others are all gonna be here for Christmas Eve for the first time in like fucking 7 years or some shit. And so But before that, because we weren't all together, the Christmas celebrations weren't quite as, bombastic, quite as like over the top, everything, all the stops pulled out. And so there wasn't like quite as many sweets, there wasn't quite as much like crazy amounts of food and stuff. But this year, at least for 1 or 2 days, it might be different. But outside of that, I don't think it will be too much of a hurdle for me, which is good because I could stop putting on weight now. Would be good because it's gone to the wrong places. I don't put on weight anywhere but my gut. It doesn't go anywhere else on this body. That's got to stop. The madness has got to stop. The same here. I'm trying to work out more again. I'm trying to I was on the treadmill for an hour yesterday, just trying to burn any calories that I could fucking get out of my body.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
And 2 things I realized. One, after an hour, I think it was like 400 calories or whatever in that hour. I was like, all right, that's not bad. But also like the next day, I was like, wow, I'm now a cripple. So I need to maybe not go right for the hour, maybe do like a half hour and then crawl towards that hour mark. Xenon Slayer, bit of a double question if I may. Adam, what's the video you are most proud of on your channel? And Jeff, what voice actor gig are you most proud of being part of yourself?
I mean, I do like being the voice of Squad. When you pick the Americans.
I had a feeling that was going to be the one.
It's a video game, and it's like a big video game.
Yeah,
and so whenever I'm watching streamers play, I always hear my voice, and it's pretty cool. It paid like shit, but it was cool to be in the game.
The experience is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got like one video where I'm like particularly fucking proud of it. For all the content creation that I've done, there are very few things that I've done that were like true passion projects that you would like dump so much time and energy into that you'd be like proud of it. I always obviously take pride in any work that I do, but there's not like one standout thing off the top of my head that I can think of. I'm really proud of all of my review content. And I continue to be proud of my review content, despite the only handful of people that ever see the reviews these days, because I do think I do a pretty great job of it. But there's not like a singular standout example that I can perhaps think of. But I'd say the body of work with my reviews in the last few years has been probably the best. Yeah, like the lowest energy one. The basketball, the MJ versus LeBron video keeps getting views and it's just funny. There's just so many people who will watch that shit. You could do nothing and they'll show up to watch those videos. It's the secret. Reaction YouTube.
That's it. That's what people want to see these days.
Proxy Robo, what's your most valuable real estate advice regarding purchasing your very first home? What's the number one?
Say that one more time.
What is your most valuable real estate advice regarding purchasing your first home? That's your top tip.
Or purchasing your first home?
Yeah. I'd say don't bat above your weight, or don't fight above your weight. A lot of people try to max everything out when they get into their first home. I think that of all the people that have been in my life anyway, so this isn't my experience because I haven't bought my first home yet, but of everyone that I've known that have gotten in to that, and some of them are on their second home now, which is like the one that they're raising their family in, is that some people have rushed to try and get their forever home on the first go. And then they become house poor, where like their mortgage and their property tax and all the shit that comes with having this house outstrips their comfortable living budget to the point where they can't really do anything else. They're not going to go bankrupt, but they can't afford to do other shit. Whereas the people that went for like a more of a starter home situation, stayed in it for 3, 4, 5 years, and then sold it on the other end, and then got into their forever home, are far less financially strapped or house poor because they didn't try to like jump the shark and get right into the house that they saw on Pinterest 6 months ago.
Yeah. Well, I won't pick that just because Adam said it, which I think is very important. Have a budget, and don't go too far past that, if not at all. Don't buy a house thinking it's going to be your forever home, because 9 times out of 10, it's not your forever home. Life happens. I would say, if you can, for first-time home buyers. Okay, so a few things. Number one, see what kind of rebates and different things that you can get loan-wise, depending on where you're from as a first-time home buyer. A lot of people don't know that, like, if you have RSPs and stuff, like, you can actually take money out interest-free with no penalty and stuff, as long as you pay it back in X amount of years. So just make sure that depending on where you're from, what types of things that you can take advantage of. Shop around for mortgages. Remember, the bank is buying your business, essentially, right? The banks make their money from mortgages, right? The way mortgages work is like it's a business in itself.
There's a reason why mortgage brokers are becoming more popular these days, is because they do that shopping around.
Correct. So make sure that you go to multiple banks, almost like an interview. And when they tell you, hey, you're approved for 2.8%, make sure that you go to at least 3 banks and see what the rates are, and then negotiate if you can, right? So depending on how good your credit is, how good your income to debt ratio is, all those things will play into a factor on what you're able to negotiate. So I would do all of those things. Make sure that you know the costs, the closing costs. Most people just look at, hey, the house is $300,000. That's how much I pay. Man, you got to pay lawyers. There's closing fees, usually, deed transfer taxes, inspections. You gotta know your deal. Always get an inspection. If you're a first-time home buyer, always get an inspection. And multiple. If you have a sewage, get it inspected. If get your house inspected. Do all of the inspections that you can, but only do the big inspections first. Don't start off by testing the water first or testing the septic first or whatever. Do your house, because if the house is bad, then you can back out. That way you're not spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on the other inspections if you're not going to buy the property, right? So it's just little things. Also, with your bank, they do charge you fees as well. So a lot of the times when it comes to getting an appraisal done, the bank will send an appraisal for you. Most times you cannot pick your own appraiser. The bank will do it. Get them to pay for it. Okay? That's like $400. I have never paid for an appraisal on any of my properties since the first house I bought, because I was watching some content and they said, ask. You don't get what you don't ask for. And listen, if they want your money, if they want your business over the next 30 years if you're American, or 5 years if you're Canadian, whatever your term is, they are going to bend over for you to a degree. So they're going to pay, that'll save you $400, right? It's just these little things that a lot of people don't think about. Do all of those. If you can do all of those things, man, that'll save you $1,000, $2,000 even before you buy the house. And then goes right into what Adam said. Don't punch above your weight, right? A lot of people go, okay, what can I afford per month? Okay, I can afford a $1,500 mortgage payment. But remember, guys, you're a homeowner now. You're the landlord. You don't have one, which means when the roof goes, your AC goes, your dishwasher goes, your oven goes, your fridge leaks, your whatever, that's on you. So make sure that you don't get into a house where you're house poor and you have absolutely no reserves and no money. So if you could only afford $1,500 a month, you better bring that back down to $1,200 a month. Because over the course, it might not happen for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but I'm telling you, in 5 years, something's going to go. And if you're not doing your inspections properly, you could have problems day one. You get in your first winter and realize, oh my God, I had no idea that, some snow buildup was going to take down part of my roof, or it rained like a motherfucker and it didn't. That's why, dude, if you can, also another one, don't you guys get me going on real estate. If you can, when you're getting your inspections, try and plan for a rainy day. If you have the time. So when you put something under contract and you look at the weather report, try and lock in a day where it's piss pouring rain, because you're going to find the leaks. You're going to find all that stuff. Water is a nightmare. It's nightmare fuel when you own a house. It's the scariest fucking thing. Water ain't, listen, man, if you got issues with your house, that water's getting in. It don't give a fuck. And it's going to fuck your shit up. So plan to have your inspection. Yeah, it sucks for the inspector, but who gives a fuck? That's why you pay him or her. Piss pouring rain, go and get your inspection done, or the day after piss pour rain. Try and be so that you can see all that stuff. Do all that small shit and don't punch above your weight. Do not get wrapped up into, we had a $300,000 budget, and next thing you know it, now we're spending $380,000. Yeah, $80,000 might not look like a lot of money over a 30-year fixed mortgage, but you're paying interest on that shit. It's more money that you got to
It's really like $110,000.
It's expensive. It's expensive, man. If you buy a house on a 30-year fixed and you take 30 years to pay for it, and your house was $200,000, you're paying like $500K for that house over 30 years. Interest is a son of a bitch. Yeah, and it's the monetization scale that they have. It's not like your standard, hey, I got $1,000 at 3%, so I owe X amount of dollars. $100,000, I owe $3,000 in interest. It's not how it works, man. With mortgages, everything is front loaded. You're paying all the mortgage up, and then over your payments, you start putting more towards the principal. The banks ain't stupid, man. They know what the fuck they're doing. And lastly, because all the work, guys, happens before you buy the fucking house, dude. That's the most important thing is knowing what you're buying and knowing what you're getting into. Most people just like, especially first time, and we did this. Kale and I did this. We bought the first house we went into. The very first home we bought, it was the first showing we went into. We didn't go to multiple other houses. Now, it worked out for us because the market back then was a lot different than what it is now. But, man, do not do that today. I know that the market is super hot and you got to make decisions on the fly unless you absolutely know, without a doubt. You need to shop around. You need to see a few and compare. Because if you don't, you could be getting fucked. And I'm telling you right now,
sometimes you don't know what you really want until you've walked into a few houses.
Your real estate agent, if you're a first-time home buyer, is likely not your friend. Okay? They're there to make money. The more you spend, the more commission they have. So unless you've got a close family member or friend or a really good reference from somebody that's been treated well, assume that your agent is working with their seller's agent, and they are working together to get you to spend as much money as humanly possible so that they can get a bigger check. So do your research. I know you asked for one big thing, but it's not just one thing, man. This is your biggest decision you're going to make in your life financially, likely. Don't fuck it up or try to mitigate it. Good news is when you own real estate and you fuck it up, if you hold on to it long enough, those mistakes will take care of themselves. But you got to make sure you can bankroll that. Do not fucking buy a goddamn house. If you started a side hustle and you're like, damn, I made an extra $2,000 a month for the last 3 months. Damn, I'm going to go out there and just buy a fucking house. Bruh, don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. Because you don't know where that money, you make sure that you got a job, man. Because you think you might be able to afford it today, but what happens in 2 years, 3 years? What happens when interest rates go up? And by the way, they are going to go up. It's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen next year, likely. All right? And if it does, it'll go up like very small percentage of a point. But I'm telling you, the interest rates are going to go up. We're at historic lows.
National banks are looking at this going...
Yeah, the last thing you want to do
inflation.
is over fucking buy like crazy. And then in 4 or 5 years, interest rates are up 2%.
And all of a sudden your mortgage is $200 to $300 more a month. And you're like...
Yeah, and you're like, fuck. And the banks don't care. They're going to take a shit.
Orion, Says, this is more of a somber question, so I understand if you decline to field it live or recount your experience. Recently, I had to take my wife to the emergency room. Sorry to hear that. The doctors discovered something we did not expect and had her medevaced to a hospital in a neighboring city. Must have been quite serious. We stayed there for 9 days. She's doing much better now. But while I was there, I felt so helpless as it felt like one thing after another kept happening, and there were a few times where I was shaking and wondering if I was going to lose her. So my question is, how do you cope with stress and helplessness in a situation where a loved one is ill, injured, or worse?
I haven't been put in that situation, so I don't really have advice for it.
I don't have, like, in terms, certainly not with a significant other. The closest to this that I have been is having been with and watching my mother take care of her father, my grandfather, during his, heading out period, and now doing the same with her mother, who's my grandmother, who's upstairs with us right now, and watching that process, because and this is the helplessness situation, because both of them were terminal, so you just don't know. You just don't have a clue. It could be tomorrow, could be today, could be a year from now. You don't know. So that's always in the back of your mind. And, she's taking care of them took care of him and is taking care of her on a daily basis. Her whole life is basically just doing that. So watching that and playing a small part, very small role in that, you do watch them deteriorate. And so there is certainly a mortal edge to the whole thing. Honestly, I don't know if there is, other than talking about it with somebody, whether you need to have a, professional help, or if you've got other family or friends that you can talk out, you get it outside of your head, because it's very easy to, like, doom spiral mentally when you're watching a loved one be in a situation like that, especially if things seem to be worsening, etc. It's so easy to doom spiral, and it's so important to have somebody, whether it's a close friend or a family member or a professional, to be able to vocalize and get that out and process it, because internalizing it is a fucking nightmare. So that's about the only thing I can think of, because honestly, there are few things in the world that are worse to juggle mentally than watching a very close loved one go through anything like that, and to be there and have to, and have to witness it, because you can't do anything. You're not a doctor, you're not a surgeon, you're not, you can't stop a cancer, you can't do anything. You're just there. And so, getting somebody to talk to is probably the only thing you've got. And then other than that, it's just keep your head on your shoulders as best you can. Everyone handles that differently. But glad to hear, at least it sounds like it, that things have turned a corner for the better, for you and your wife, and things are getting better. So that seems to be positive, and glad to hear that seems to be heading in the right direction. If you were just Jorbach again, if you were Nicolas Cage's agent, what would you say to him about his career at this moment, Mr. Black? What is your career assessment of one Mr. Nicolas Cage in 2021?
You're lucky as fuck. Don't fuck this next movie up.
Does Nicolas Cage even have an agent at this point, or do you think people just call him directly like Bill Murray?
No, he definitely has an agent for sure. Somebody's making money.
Because it's like Bill at one point just had a phone line that he just had set up. It was like the bat phone where you just called Bill Murray, and he was the one that would pick up on the other end, and you had to pitch to Bill Murray directly. That's just crazy enough that I could almost see Nick Cage doing that. But yeah, I mean, what would you say was career? Same thing. I mean, man, it's luck for it's definitely a lot of luck. You've been doing indies for 10 years, bro. So make this one count. If he cares, like, I'd have to say to him, if you care about doing mainstream movies anymore, then you have to fucking, like, this is a home run for you.
You guys show up for this.
You gotta show up for this one. If you really don't give a fuck and you're just doing movies for fun now, then I guess that's on you. But yeah. And then 3 from Mr. Miyagi that are the same. Fucking Jesus Christ. It's the Marry Fuck Kill has made a return, Mr. Black. Which I guess at this point some of these don't even make sense, but I'll ask it anyway. Marry Fuck Kill, Home Alone, Elf, Jingle All the Way.
All right,
I'm marrying Home Alone. I'm fucking Jingle All the Way, and I'm killing Elf.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I'm not even sure how you fucked that order up.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Come on, let's be real. And let's also pretend like the latest Home Alone doesn't exist, because holy shit, please
I
God
didn't watch
no.
it. Yeah, and I'm not gonna.
Stop. Marry Fuck Kill, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween.
I'm marrying Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm sexing Thanksgiving, and I'm killing Halloween.
Yeah, that's another easy one. And the last one, Marry Fuck Kill, turkey dinner, ham dinner, or goose dinner. I've never had goose at a
I'm killing goose
dinner. I'm killing. So
I'm marrying turkey, and I'm fucking the ham.
I think that's probably the same for me. I've never had goose. It's entirely possible, because I'm not a big ham fan, that I might be a marry turkey, fuck a goose, kill a ham. But turkey and goose would serve a very similar place on my plate. So if I'm choosing between the two, I'm just gonna go with the one that I know. And so yeah, that's a turkey, ham, and goose situation.
Yep.
So there you go. That's the show. You heard it here first. Jeff and I are marrying the turkey and fucking the ham. Techno Alpha. Ham fuckers. That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. We're heading out of here. You guys stay safe out there. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hit the like button if you haven't already on YouTube. Hit the dislike button. Wait, you can't. Because it doesn't exist anymore. Give us a rating on any other platforms that you can if you have the opportunity, and head on over to patreon.com/lagtv if you want to financially support this, and keep the pig fuckers going. Until next week, guys, once again, thank you so much. Stay safe, have a good one. Peace!
Peace.